We're back. We've got a video that some of you might have clicked on because the title is like, is am I really saying what I'm saying here? And not necessarily. I'll give you my full answer at the end of when we're done talking, but this video also is not going to just be about Jokic. But I thought Jokic is the prime person in today's NBA that we can talk about this for. And it's is Nikola Jokic a stat patter? Um and at first glance, right, the people that would acquire for this, like in current day or recent history, would be like Nikola Jokic, Westbrook from a few years ago, James Harden from a few years ago, um, maybe a guy like Shea. And then if you want to go in, past like all time players, you probably think of like Wilt, Bill Russell. You probably think of maybe a Dennis Rodman. You think maybe of an Oscar Robertson just because of they were really good at everything. Not let me not say everything because Dennis Rodman, like they had an elite averages and amount for certain stats. Um, and let's talk about Jokic. So this is Jokic's career, and we're mainly going to talk about like this year from 2017, 2018 to kind of until like current day. So as we know, I mean Nikola Jokic, seven-time All Star, six-time All NBA, three-time MVP. He's a Finals MVP. He's a champ, All Rookie, and Western Conference Finals MVP. Um, this first year that we're talking about, 18, 10, 6. Then we get to his really elite years where he is 20, 11, and 7, 20, 10, and 7. Then we go to the MVP where it's kind of his era of 26, 10, and 8, 27, 14, and 8, 25, 12 and 10, basically 26, 12, and 9. And then this year where he averaged almost a 30-point triple double with 13 boards and 10 assists. I do not think that there are I do not think that Nikola Jokic is a stat patter. I think that honestly, I don't think any NBA player is a stat patter. Um, and I think a lot of people will say this about guys like Jokic, guys like Westbrook. And while we're here, let me get Westbrook. So here we've got Russell Westbrook, obviously 9-time All Star, assist champ, scoring champ, All NBA, All Star MVP, 75th anniversary team, and everything galore. I mean, the main years we'll be talking about is like here 28, 7 and 9, 23, 7 and 10, 31, 10 and 10. And then we got 25, 10 and 10, 23, 10 and 10, 27, 8 and 7. And then we're back to triple double of 22, 11 and 11. Um, Again, I don't think that these players are stat patters. I don't. I don't think anybody in NBA history is a stat patter. I think that there are times where certain players will look too much for an assist or they will look too much to get a rebound instead of doing something else. I think that the players that I said at the beginning of this video, I think Westbrook has definitely become accustomed to that, even currently, where he's not getting triple doubles regularly like he used to be. But there's times where he looks to pass too much instead of scoring because he wants to get assist numbers. Same could be said for Jokic. I've especially thought in these playoffs for Jokic that he sometimes looks to play make more than score, and I think that really has hurt the Nuggets sometimes. This year he did better. 30 points a game basically. Still averaged a triple double, but there are just I think times where players get too invested in trying to get those other stats. Like, and the reason I brought up a guy like Dennis Rodman, who, if we go to Dennis Rodman, we have here we go. We've got a Hall of Fame, 2-time All-Star, 7-time rebound champ, defensive player of the year, all defensive, NBA champion. But let's look at this, right? Obviously, we're not talking about the points or the assists for Dennis Rodman. We're talking about this right here, where, I mean, other than his rookie year, he averaged pretty much over 9 rebounds a game for 13 years. And obviously the greatest rebounder of all time, almost 19, 18, 17, 17, 15, 16, 15. He averaged, he was the league leader in rebounds 7 years in a row. And then the 2 years before that, he was defensive player of the year and an all-star. So, and you like, and some people think, how do you become a stat pattern for certain things? It doesn't even seem possible in some cases. In some stats, it's not. I don't think points you can really stat pad unless you are either a super quote unquote free throw merchant, or you are if you are on a team and you are just looking to score because, oh, hey, like if I don't know. It's hard to find an example of this because I really don't think it happens, but some people look at it differently. So I think that if you put like a player, let's just say a player who was a former all-star, maybe is like, this is perfect. If D'Angelo Russell, who's now on Brooklyn, started taking 30 shots a game, didn't, only average 2 assists, and just wasn't being a good basketball player, I think that's where you can become a stat pattern for points because, hey, you know, Brooklyn is a bunch of young guys or a bunch of guys who maybe aren't looked at scoring a basketball. So I'm just going to take every shot, no matter if it is a good shot or bad shot, whether it's a logo 3 or it's a layup on 3 people. Um, but I don't think that happens. Rebounding, if you are guarding a player and you just simply leave a player open and you just want to get the rebound every time, then I think that's where you can become a stat pattern for rebounding. But again, if you look at that, I don't know how many players are just every possession are just leaving somebody open because, oh, hey, I want to get the rebound. I think there are times where, like, again, we saw for sure with like a Westbrook or a Harden, where we see, they're guarding someone at the 3-point line. And as soon as they get the shot up, they run straight to the basket to get a rebound for a triple double. I think that might be the closest thing of stat padding that we have or have had in the NBA. But even then, I don't necessarily know if that's stat padding. Sure, it's not necessary, but getting a rebound is one of the most important things in the game. So it's one of those things where it's like, okay, he's doing it, but if it's leading to misses and he's not leaving his guy wide open and he's playing defense, who am I to say he can't go get that rebound? Assisting, I think, is also where we see it the most. Other than, I think assisting is definitely where we see it the most, where a guy like a Jokic will look to play make instead of scoring if he has maybe a mismatch or whatever. Now, granted, Jokic gets doubled a lot, so it makes sense for him to play make as much as he does. But sometimes Jokic is one of the biggest players in the league. It sometimes makes sense for you to just go right up, which is why he is the poster boy for this video. And again, I don't necessarily think that that is stat padding. I just think that there are certain possessions or certain times in the game where it's like, man, just go get a bucket. Because again, I don't think it's stat padding because he's not doing it every possession. If he's doing it every possession, that's where I think a stat pattern for assists comes into play. Steals, I don't really think you can. Steals, I don't really think you can do it. I mean, you can reach a lot, but that's not really stat padding because it's so hard to get steals. It's probably the hardest stat to get out of the 5 major stats. blocking, if you're really not trying to get a stop and you're just going up for the block instead of trying to play defense and, like I said, get a stop, I think that could be too. But again, I don't think we see that in the NBA. I don't know. I don't think I've ever seen that really happening. Um, I think some players are just really good at blocking. I think there's a difference between being a good defender and being a good shot blocker. Like Porzingis, for example, who's on my favorite team, who I've watched a lot the past 2 years. Not, I mean, he's a good defender, but he's not a great defender. But he averaged, let's see what his blocks are. I mean, he's definitely averaged over 2 blocks a game in seasons before. I think he's a good shot blocker, just not a good defender. Yeah, I mean, he's averaged 2 multiple times in his career, and he's always averaged more than 1.5. He has a 1.8 blocks for his career so far. So I think guys like Porzingis are good shot blockers, but they are not good defender, or they're not elite defenders. I think when you talk about elite defenders is where you get into the Hakeems, where they're doing both. Mutombo doing both. And then there's the other way, where you're not a good block, you don't really get blocks, but you're an elite defender, and those are the guys that don't really show up on the stat sheet, like a Draymond Green, like a Tim Duncan, like a Drew Holiday. They can get steals or blocks for sure, but they're not getting 4 a game. Where like And then again, there is both for the other way for steals. Like Dyson Daniels, great defender, averaged what, 3 steals this season, the most in I don't know how long. So, my answer to is Nikola Jokic or any of these players stat patters, especially in the current NBA, I can't know. I can't say that they are. You go and then when you look back, right? I mentioned Wilt and Bill Russell before. If you know some of the stats that Bill Russell and Wilt have rebounding wise, they have had like 50 rebounds in a game multiple times. Wilt is more the guy for this, right? The 100 points, the quintuple doubles and stuff. Like, I don't, first of all, I'm not somebody that always believed that Wilt stuff was fake, but the more and more that I look into this stuff, it's definitely not all true. He very well could have scored 100 points in a game. He's not doing it though on free throws because I mean, let's look at the free throw percentage. 50, 40s, 30s, 40s mainly. He's a career 51% free throw shooter. But like, I mean, man, I just saw a graphic where the players who the most games in a row, somebody averaged 40 points. And for Wilt, it said 515 games. That would mean that if you were to play, hold on, let me do this for real because it's ridiculous. 515 divided by say 82, because he played 82 games a lot in his career. Pretty much every season he played over 70 games, except for that 1 year where you see he had played 12. That would mean for over 6 seasons, he averaged 40 points. He did not do that. He just didn't do that. He averaged the 50 season. Okay. He had 145-point season. Nothing else has been 40 points. And then again, you talk about the quintuple double, which was just a feat, was just a the anniversary of him doing it allegedly. I want you to look at this. Hold on, while I find it. Here, hold on. Copy, and then we're gonna put this in here. Look at this. This is not 53 points. That could be true. 32 rebounds, sure. 14 assists, maybe that could even be true. 24 blocks and 11 steals is not possible. It's possible. There's no way. And the reason I'm bringing these up, which it's quite random that I'm bringing these things up, is because I think back then there just weren't players that could fight against a Wilt or a Bill Russell or even an Oscar Robertson, who was big for his position and time. So the rebounding stuff, sure, the points, maybe, yeah, but all that stuff of 24 blocks, 11 steals, all that. You can miss me with that. That there's some of that stuff that just isn't true to me. And you just won't be able to convince me unless I'm watching the whole 48-minute game and there is a stat tracker for that. But again, my final answer, I do not think that there are stat patters in the NBA. I think there are players that are really good at a certain skill, like a Dennis Rodman, and then you've got some of these all-around players like a Jokic, like a Harden, like a Westbrook, who can average triple doubles, and maybe they do try and hunt for the triple double some games if they're one assist away, but you would do that too. Let's be honest here. If you were one assist away from getting a triple double in a game and it wasn't really a close game, you would do the two to try and get it. But there are times where I think that they're just doing it when they're not close, or if they already have it, they're just doing it when it's not necessary to do. So that is why I do not believe that there are stat patterns in the NBA. I think there are good players that have good skills, but there are certainly players that sometimes look to do more than what they need to do instead of just going and scoring the ball. Um, and that could be said, I mean, even like for scoring, instead of what my favorite player, I love him, but I will say sometimes when you have Jalen Brunson on you and you know you can get right by him or go right through him and get an easy layup, you take a sidestep three, I think that's doing too much. I don't think that's stat padding. I don't think that's going for the extra point because, oh, hey, I want to have 34 points instead of 33 or something like that. So, again, I do not believe that there are stat patterns in the NBA. People, again, say what you want, think what you want, let me know. Maybe I'm missing examples. Maybe I'm not seeing something eye to eye. But again, I think that people use stat padding as a term too loosely, and it's not. I just don't think it's a thing that we see after everything I explained. If you don't agree, let me know. I will, I will read the comments, and of course, but that's my answer. Nikola Jokic is not a stat pattern.